Before we get into the podcast, I want to take a second to talk about our company, Lonely Cowboy, and what we do, what we stand for, and what we're trying to accomplish. More specifically with the Lonely Cowboy Scholarship Fund. Our scholarship fund is used to create scholarships for high school seniors across the country that are interested in mental health education. And through the collaborations we do with tattoo artists, as well as the podcast episodes, we hope to normalize the conversation and continue talking about mental health in a fashion that is digestible to everyone. If you're interested in learning more about Lonely Cowboy, you can check out our site, www.lonelycowboyco.com. You'll be able to find the scholarship fund page and the GoFundMe link. I'll put that in the description below, as well as the clothing we produce, as well as some of the past tattoo artist collaborations we've done. Going forward, Lonely Cowboy is going to continue the podcast with tattoo artists and basically anyone who's interested in mental health. I want to thank you guys for listening and supporting. It means the world to me. And without further ado, enjoy this episode of CONVOS with KEEGS. I'm here with Juline Joy King, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. And you are a tattoo artist out of Clearfield, Utah?
Yes.
Very nice. I want to thank you first and foremost for coming on and doing this. I really appreciate it. So the first question I usually ask is, what got you into the tattoo world?
It was 2020. I've been doing it for almost 3 years, and I was going back to school to get my master aesthetics. And I came across there's a little backstory. I started doing brows first. So semi-permanent brows, microblading, things like that. I started seeing other aesthetics, brow artists, things that were already, jobs that were like that were getting into fine line.
Gotcha.
That job already kind of is very like pigment in the skin, cutting the skin, kind of in that world slightly. And so it can be a really simple sidestep to kind of start going in that direction. So in 2020, I came across it. It piqued my interest, and then I went. So.
Gotcha. I noticed in your Instagram bio, it says master, I'm going to butcher this, but esthetician?
Yes, it's a master esthetician. So skin,
Gotcha.
med spas, things like that. That's a master in aesthetics.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, like through my trying to find artists to do these podcasts and promote mental health in the scholarship fund, I just go on my explore page and just find artists that I like, etc. And I noticed there are a ton popping up in Utah, like especially in the fine line game. Like it is crazy to see. Do you think that? Sorry, you go.
No, you're good. I think Utah is. We're very saturated when it comes to a side gig for women, I think.
Gotcha.
We're wanting to do things that we can do from home. I actually started as a makeup artist, then started doing brows, then wanted to go back and get certified fully in aesthetics. And that's at the same time I was going to school, night school for aesthetics, and I did tattooing at the same time. There's a lot of us. So I think when something new kind of pops up that makes you be a little bit different, there's a lot of us that will just jump right onto it. So
yeah. And I mean, it's like all the artists that I've seen, they're all killing it. So the clientele out there just has to be like, everyone's just eating it up. Do you think they're...
Yeah, I think that Utah has been a really... tattoos have always been a presence here, especially traditional tattoos. But once fine line got on just in the world and people noticed it here in Utah, with it being so delicate and something that you can maybe not as drastic and it's smaller, that the more LDS Christian-based people, it kind of opened up their eyes where, oh, I can get that and put that somewhere and it won't be so noticeable.
Yeah,
it kind of fit the narrative a little bit better.
Yeah, super, like, could be super small and very, like, not I feel like professional isn't the word, but like it fits the aesthetic of um, not like the typical big bold American traditional. Like it looks very petite and clear cut.
Yes.
And I guess this is a little technical questions. I don't know if everyone will understand this, but are you using a single needle or a 3 round liner, or do you ever get up to like the 5 and 9 round liners?
So my go-to is a 3 round liner, but I use 0803s if I really want a little bit more of a finer line, and then I will do a 1003 if I want just a little bit more, which is just the gauge of the needle,
Yeah,
just to give it. But that's my comfort zone. That's where I like to sit. I do have fives and sevens, but I would much rather stay in the fine line
yeah.
area.
I think a lot of people who get fine line tattoos don't necessarily understand that it's not just like one single tiny needle. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't really know many fine line artists that ever use a single. It's usually a three round liner.
Yeah. So I actually was trained on a single needle. I learned on a single needle, and I did use single needle cartridges for the first 6 months that I was taking people, starting to do like a little bit at a time and really getting the practice in. And then 6 months after I had done that, I did another shadowing training with more of a master tattoo artist in fine line from, I believe he's from Japan, but he lives in Texas. Anyway, he came out to Utah and I did that training, and we got way more in depth of trauma to the skin, the actual mechanics behind a single needle versus a triple needle.
Yeah.
And after that, I never used single needle again.
Dang. And is single needle what you use on like the permanent brows?
So I am a microblading artist, so you can use a machine. I have a machine. My plan was to train in that, but
Yeah.
tattoos took off so quickly.
Oh, okay.
That has kind of just taken over. So what I use is an actual blade. So it's just tiny needles kind of stacked on top of each other, and you're using an actual tool to cut through
Okay.
the skin.
That makes sense. Yeah. I was always interested to like know how that works because I know a lot of girls in my area. I'm in Buffalo, New York currently. Um, and fine line is just now kind of breaching the service. Buffalo is a pretty small city, so there's not many tattoo artists who do fine line. I only know a handful. But like I said, searching around for artists in Utah, it's just like one after another. They just keep popping up.
Yeah, they do.
Mm. Um, Kind of a more into the mental health aspect of it. What were some challenges that you faced, like either starting your career as a microblader and then transitioning into a tattoo artist? Were there any like things that stuck out when you started to get into the tattoo world and really immerse yourself in it that were challenging?
I think just like stepping into the tattoo world is intimidating just by the characteristics and the assumptions of the tattoo world can be intimidating.
Of
So I
course.
think, I mean, even me getting into it and being surrounded by other women that we were training together and doing these things together, I didn't look like the stereotypical. I had zero tattoos when I did the training.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit intimidating. Also, at the same time, I was reassessing. I stepped away from the LDS church, but I was a member at the time. And so it was mentally a lot of conditioning that I was doing something that was frowned upon or you're not supposed to do that. And then I'm just kind of cannonballing into it. Like, I'm not going to just get it, I'm going to do it too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so there was a lot of a mental game for myself, but I knew I needed to do it. And I just decided early on I didn't really want to get too big too quick. I wanted it to just like naturally and organically, like by word of mouth and my work speaking for itself. for my clients to just organically find me.
Yeah.
So I like staying in my little corner of the world and not being too getting
Yeah.
too much attention. Because I do have 4 kids and and all that. So this is a side gig that thankfully has been so much fun uh and it has kept me very busy. Like I haven't actually had to do a whole lot. It does organically just kind of come in. So
Yeah. Um, Going back to, you said it was called the LDS Church.
yes. So Mormon.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were familiar with any of the past like big tattoo artist collabs I did. I did one with Hannah Matthews, who's also in Utah. I'm not sure if you're
Hmm.
familiar with her.
Yeah, I know who she is.
She spoke about the same thing. Like she was in the church and then she got out of it. And another tattoo artist as well, who is based out of Montana, Tattooed by Q. Same thing. She was in the church and then got out of it to be a tattoo artist. It's wild to me to see, especially in that area of the States, like everyone's kind of stepping away from the church and then getting into the one thing that the church hates is just tattoos. And there's not a huge Mormon presence in Buffalo, but I felt it from my family as well. And like some family I have that's super religious in California. When I first got tattoos, like I got this whole arm covered in less than a year. And I remember getting the dirtiest looks from so many people, which is frustrating. But do you think that the narrative is kind of changing, especially in like your place of the States?
Yeah, I definitely think, well, and I think Fine Line has had a lot to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a lot of what I like to focus on and what got me into it, I don't think I would have ever thought of even being a tattoo artist if I hadn't seen what Fine Line was
Yeah.
and how meaningful and how delicate and soft and clear and clean, because I'm also a huge perfectionist.
Yeah.
So, like, being able to see that and being artistic, growing up artistic my whole life, I was like, oh, okay. But yes, I do think that that has the stereotypical and the traditional tattoo world, I think, can sometimes scare people, intimidate people, and Fine Line opens that door just a little bit where more
Mm-hmm.
people are like, oh no, I'm getting my grandma's handwriting, or I'm getting my kids' names or my kids' birth flowers, and this meaning is somehow connected into it, and it makes it more accepted, more okay,
Yeah.
more personal.
And a lot of the clients you have you noticed that them getting tattoos is somewhat of a form of therapy in a way?
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Early on, I kind of took, I think every tattoo artist, you kind of just take what you get.
Yep.
I was just happy that people were trusting me and wanting to come to me. So they would tell me what they wanted. And even if it wasn't something that I necessarily really spoke to me artistically or creatively, I would make it work and I would do it just because I was out there wanting to help and I wanted the work and I wanted to see and push myself to do different things. Um, in the last year or so, I've been going through my own mental health journey, dealing with inner child work, all these things, stepping outside of the church and trying to figure out my identity in that. And um, so much more has pushed me into talking about tattoos being that way and respecting that way and respecting the process. Um, that's why I think this lights me up and got my attention in the first place was how therapeutic it can be. And being able to open up a room or an experience for someone to come in and mark something that's memorable or something they're claiming for themselves or something that they've gone through. And this is reminding them that I can hold space for that and that I can make that experience as honored and respected as possible.
Yeah. So it's also therapeutic for you as well, being the artist, because
Yeah.
I would
I,
imagine that like yeah, doing your art is. I mean, I know for me, like I'm just kind of I'm training to be a tattoo artist myself. So I've art for me has always been a form of therapy, no matter whether it's training to be a tattoo artist or painting or making videos, whatever that may be. I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, you as an artist, like your art is your form of release.
It is in a big way. Any type of creation or creativity has always lit me up, and it took me a minute to figure out what that was doing for me mentally. I know that it really helped kind of clear my mind and kind of get me in a better centered place. But it's been over the years and while I've really stepped into it and really done it that I've realized how much it helps me.
Yeah.
Um, and then that how much the creation, but then also using that creation to connect with someone else, that human to human connection, um, that also feeds my soul. Like it's like really good to
100%.
kind of put the two together.
Yeah, and I think tattoos are that's part of the reason why I love them so much. Is that's like the one thing that will be with someone forever until they die. Like you're gonna get buried in the grave with all your tattoos. Like, and
Yep, exactly.
yeah, a lot of people don't really grasp that concept. Like every tattoo, at least for me, and I know for a lot of my friends who have them, they each tell a story or a time and place in their life. And even if they don't love them, it still says something about a specific time in your life. And I think
Yep.
a lot of heavily tattooed people don't regret their tattoos, but a lot of people who aren't heavily tattooed can sometimes second guess themselves and regret them. Or if they're just like, I don't exactly know how to explain it, but in my experience, all my friends that are heavily tattooed, someone would ask, "Do you regret any of them?" And they'll say, "Absolutely not." Even if they're like the worst, like little stick and pokes that you get in a basement of something. I have two stick and pokes that are just tiny little things. They're not the best, but they still mean as much to me as the big pieces that I have.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said a little bit earlier, how this past year, um, you've been dealing with your own journey within mental health. How has that looked? And besides tattooing, are there any things you do daily to kind of either combat negative thoughts or just to keep your brain healthy and active?
So I do exercise 3 times a week. That is definitely a priority for me, just getting my body moving, things like that. That has been something that I've realized was really good for my mental health early on. After
Mm-hmm.
having 4 kids and really that being the focus, I realized how much I needed to move my body and things like that and what that did for me. I specifically do like a dance aerobics, which is good for my brain. I danced in high school, and so it really gets me to kind of connect to that teenager person, that form of dance and stuff. And it's good for my brain, all the things.
Yeah.
Um, Taking time too to like really put into my relationship with my husband. I have 4 kids, so I really have tried to be a lot more present with my children. Um, it's like refocusing to these things that are really, really important to me. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said before, like really light me up, my passion in my life. I've dropped all of the things that were petty, stupid, just were a waste of my time. Like the things where I'm like, why am I hanging out with these friends that like don't agree with how I'm living my life? And I have to play small to make them to feel comfortable. It's like weeding through all that when you're actually going through and healing inner child work and trauma and things like that. Just kind of clears the garbage out of the way.
Yeah.
And so on the daily, I do take time to really, I usually always try to go in the backyard and ground myself and take a minute to just like breathe in the morning, get some sunshine in the summer, which is nice. Prioritizing being outside and really kind of getting all those distractions out of the way
Mm-hmm.
helps me a ton. Um, and then, yeah, cultivating my relationship with my husband has been a huge, big thing the last couple months. Um, just creating safety and like a really um, peaceful home center
Yeah.
then allows me to create in a place that then also helps me chill. But then my kids have, it's just like this euphoria. You're in this peaceful, you're trying to get in your home, because the world can be really shitty sometimes.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it
But then
can.
there will be times where I like wake up and, I've got to work or I have to go to work and do tattooing. And sometimes it's just a little bit of like getting up and knowing you have to go there. And even though I love it and it lights me up, sometimes that part is the hardest part.
Just
Once
getting
I
up and
get
doing
there,
it. Yeah.
yes, just going. But once I get there and then I'm with these people and I'm having that transfer of connection and seeing them be excited, and then I get to be artistic and all that stuff, then I'm filling my cup. It like lights me up, and then I'm like, okay, this is why I do this. It's
Yeah.
like I feel like it's so great to be able to be like, I don't, when you do something you love and you never worked in your life, and I'm like, no, it's still hard. It's still like the get up and go. It's still sometimes I just want to stay in my sweats and not do anything.
Yeah.
Especially while going through trying to heal and get past things. Some days can feel extra heavy.
Oh yeah.
And it's really sometimes easy to just be like, no, thank you. I'm done. I don't want to, I sign out for today. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to do it today.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really, really grateful that I have amazing clients. Like, okay, so for example, yesterday I had 3 sisters coming in to get a tattoo. And it was a sister tat, a floral for all 3 of them. And they got there, and one of the sisters is struggling. Her marriage is ending. There's a lot of hard things that are happening in her life. And they all came in my room and started talking to me, and there was palpable emotion. They were crying, like they were just all there for each other. And this tattoo is marking that. It was honoring that. And in the midst of her going through all this really hard life stuff. And I had another client that was meant to come after them. But as the time went on, things were moving a little slower than I had allotted time for.
Yeah.
And I'm just, it's so awesome to be able to put, like all my clients know that like I'm here for the experience. I really want to um, create a safe space and hold space for you with whatever you're going through or whatever this is marking, whether it's something silly or fun or whatever. And so I messaged my client that was coming in for a touch up, and I said, um, we've got a lot of emotions with my 3 women that are in here right now. I don't want to push or rush this. And so I'm going to reschedule you because I need to give these women as much space as I can. And she was like, dude, totally cool. Do it. No big deal. And we just took our time and let these women have this experience. And it was amazing. Like, it was just like, I was mentally and like my
Yeah.
eyes and everything else was tired by the time I was done. But it was like, that's why I do this. These are the good little nuggets that like, it is therapeutic. It's like this thing that she was going through and that her sisters were helping her through. I was there sharing that with them, but it was like I was just allowing them to kind of be there for each other at the same
Yeah.
time. So it was super cool. I was like, this is it. Here you go. This is it right here. An
Yeah.
example. Why
That
I do
is
this.
wild. Yeah, I mean, there's not many professions that allow you to do that besides like a traditional therapist or, in your case, a tattoo artist. And I think that's why with Lonely Cowboy, I really wanted to blend tattoos and mental health just because that's really what tattoos are. It's just a form of therapy. And like you said, having clients that come to you that want to share this, and then you being able to permanently give them something forever to hold on to. Like,
Yeah,
to me, there's nothing more rewarding than that.
I agree.
Does it does it ever get a little bit overwhelming to know that there's not necessarily like a pressure, but like what you're giving the client on any day, it could just be, like you said, sometimes you don't want to go to work, but you show up, you do it, and you love it. It could just be another tattoo, but to the client, it could be like their whole world.
Exactly.
Does that weight ever get a little too much sometimes?
Yeah. I think it's human, especially when we're all going through our own experience,
Mm-hmm.
to feel like our bucket's full one day and then another day not so much. Um, but I feel like even when the days like when I'm going through my own stuff or I'm questioning things or um to rely on the reason I do it and remind myself like there's a reason
Yeah, yeah,
and kind of surrender to the experience and kind of just pull myself out of it, if that makes sense. Be there for the clinical job, the what I'm doing. Um, it's kind of crazy how my client will share a little more, and then there's this like they say something that actually helps me,
yeah,
and it becomes more therapeutic almost on my side than their side, but there's still that connection. I may come into it not feeling as inspired or as motivated to really be in it with them, but then it seems like it kind of balances out. And then I leave feeling like them filling my cup.
yeah,
And maybe that's what they needed was just a place to for someone to listen. And so even though I'm not necessarily sharing, I'm still being able to create that safe place. And it is easily balanced out if I'm like fully here or here. It
yeah,
ends up kind of, working itself out.
yeah. And
So
are you doing your tattoos out of a private studio? Is it just you?
no, so I'm actually out of a hair studio.
Oh, dang. Nice.
So they do hair. It's an old cottage grandma house. They do hair upstairs, and then I'm downstairs. I have my own room with a door and like my own little area downstairs,
Gotcha.
and that I just rent. I do room rent, and the woman who owns it has been my friend for years, years and years. Um, and that's yeah. So I have a community of people all around me, but I'm the only one in the whole place that does tattoos and a little bit of aesthetics.
Gotcha. So, and are you doing this full time, 5 days a week?
No, I work 2 to 3 days a week.
Gotcha. A lot of things, or a lot of times, I think clients don't understand is even though, like you say, you're only tattooing 2 to 3 days a week, they don't take into account the hours that you have to put in at home, drawing, scheduling, doing social media. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
does that ever become? I mean, 2 to 3 days a week is still with all the other shit you got to do. That's still it's still a full time job, basically.
yeah. It's become I think my kids and everybody's just kind of used to it. I am
Mm-hmm.
on my phone a lot.
Yeah.
I really I know a lot of people start um booking their appointments and doing things through another service. So then, or through email, and they do it all at once. I like the way that I do it because I just do it through text or DM. So I
Mm-hmm.
can talk to them. I schedule everybody. I do all of that all by myself. Um,
Dang.
I do all of that. So, but I feel like it gets me really connected to them right off the go to know, is this something I want to do or is this not something I want to do right off the jump? So, I don't know if I'll ever change that, but yeah, it does keep me very busy.
Yeah. And so you said you're not booking like months at a time.
No, I pretty much do 1 month at a time. And then once that book's up, I just move to the next one.
Gotcha. I see. I see. And so it's summertime now, and as I'm sure you know, tattooing, like the healing process, I always think about it like the tattoo artist does half of the work. You have to do the other half. And if you don't do
Yep.
the other half, then your tattoo is going to fade and it's going to not look great. But that's not on the tattoo artist. Like you have to make sure that you're keeping it out of the sun, do this, this, and that. Do you think more people are trying to book in the winters just because you're already going to be covered up? You're not going to be exposed to sunlight. Or are you still getting the same amount of clients every month of the year?
I always think that when summer comes that things are going to dip a little.
Yeah.
And my kids are out of school, and so I'm kind of like, if I'm not as busy, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it always stays steady, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But I definitely do feel like winter months, it does give, like once fall starts coming, kids get back to school, it does feel like I
Yeah.
get a lot more people coming in for touch-ups. I get a lot more people coming in for their upkeep just because it's the best time of the year to do it, and they don't have to worry about the sun and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like I talk about it a lot more with my clients in the summer. I guarantee all my work, so everyone, if I have them reach out like, about 6 or whatever weeks later, send me a pic, we'll talk, we'll see if we need to touch up. But I tell all my clients in the summer, if you are thinking that you're going to be going out in the pool or going on a vacation, just wait.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just wait till the fall, because I don't want to like put all this work in and make it beautiful for you to then go jump and stay in the lake all weekend. Like,
Yeah.
we'll just leave it be, wait till the fall, and then we'll get it perfect. And then I will know that it won't be getting messed up because of water and the sun and all the things. So,
Yeah. Are there any client pet peeves or like reoccurring, not even pet peeves, but just like reoccurring designs that you might get sick of, or anything that you wish clients or future clients would know about anything regarding the tattoo process?
um, I don't know. I think my biggest pet peeve and just frustration, and it's just purely for all tattoo artists know this. We are like giving a little bit of ourselves into these designs when we draw them up.
Yeah.
I kind of get my feelings hurt when they like send me what they want, but not a whole lot of inspo pics or no inspo pics. And so they're like, I just assume there's like, I want this with this. So then the rest gets to be up to my artistic vision.
Yeah.
That's why you're asking me to be your tattoo artist. So I take the time to like draw it out, get it ready, and send it to them. And they're like, oh, wait, can you do? And it's completely different.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but it was so cute. Like, I made it so good. Like, it
Yeah.
kind of, it's like the designs become like my little babies, and then they reject them. And I'm like, but then at the end of the day, they're put it on their body. So I get over it. But I'm like, really know what you want. And at the first go, like, send all the things you want. If there's something that is unnegotiable, like, I definitely want a fern in the center of my flowers.
Yeah.
Don't deviate from that.
Yeah.
Because I did it's like, then I do it, but I separate them because for fine line, I like want everything to breathe.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm just like, can you just rely on me to like know a little bit more than you?
Yeah. 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 It's like
But
yeah,
yeah,
you wouldn't tell a car mechanic how to fix your car if you know nothing about cars, you know?
yes.
It's the
So
same
yeah, so
concept.
but it's not just what it goes. It's still like that trickiness of like they are putting this on their body. They have a vision too. So I
Yeah.
want to respect that, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm gonna. So, and sometimes I've had to explain like, do you know how close all that is that you want? Like, it's also do you? We have to let it all breathe. We have to have some air in between. Like,
Yeah.
and then they're like, oh, if I explain the reasons why. But part of me, I'm like, can't you just know that I'm doing things for a reason?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
yeah.
I'm curious to see where the tattoo world goes in the next 10, 15 years, because it's already changed so much in the last 5 to 10 years, especially with fine line. But I'm curious to see if people are going to start getting tattoos because of the artist and not necessarily because of the art. So for in my example, I found an artist that I really liked in where I used to live in South Lake Tahoe. I got one piece. I said, like, I want something like this, but you have creative freedom to do whatever you want. And then she made an amazing design. I loved it. And then after that, I just gave her some references and I was like, you just do whatever you want, because I wanted something from the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell friends of mine who like come to me for advice about artists or whatever, I'm like, give your artist the most amount of creative freedom possible. Like, don't get something because you want the art necessarily. Like, get it because of the artist you're going to, if that makes sense. Do
Yeah.
you see that kind of shift happening, or do you think there's still always going to be people that are like, I want this and I don't care who gives it to me?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's like, I feel like there's a mixture of both. I think there are certain people, I think it comes down to like who you are as a person.
Yeah.
I feel like there are people that are like, love it, do it, go, put it anywhere, like, and they're just super chill. And they just want to have a good experience and be at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not every detail that they want to control. But then I do feel like there's other people that are like, no, I saw this one design. I want this exactly or as close to exact as this. And I don't want to deviate from this. Like,
Yeah.
um, so I don't know. I feel like it's just a per person thing, but I do feel like the experience is getting changed. I do think that like people are seeing it more as therapeutic and good for their mental health and like a part of themselves, like an extension of themselves. And I do feel like they really want to honor the experience that they have and the artist they're with and combine all of that, like
Mm-hmm.
all of it together to come out with
And
something that you.
earlier, I remember you said that when you first started, you didn't have any tattoos.
Mm-mm.
Do you have any now? / have you given yourself any?
Yes, I have a few. So I have a whole shoulder floral situation
Dang.
over here. I have little stars right here that I eventually want to take off my entire arm. I tattooed my own little heart right there with 4 little tiny hearts for my kids. That was the very first one I did on myself in my family room on the floor. I have my birth here on my ankle. I have one under my rib, and then I have this right here, this script that says unconditional. I had a no-show one day, and I just tattooed myself. And
Dang.
so I've tattooed 3 on myself. So
And is the shoulder piece the biggest?
yeah, so the shoulder piece, it's on my Instagram, but like it's started as a smaller piece right here, and we just kind of added a little bit at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I call her my tap mommy, but it's who taught me.
Yeah.
She did most of it. And then I have a couple of it was done by a fellow trainee because
Gotcha.
it was very spontaneous actually. The first piece, I had nothing on my shoulder at all. And I was at that advanced training that I was talking to you about.
Mm-hmm.
And her model fell through and she just looked at me and was like, Juline, I'm going to tattoo you. And I was like, okay. And we just went with it, and I laid there and just kind of got to do a little extra right in-depth learning because I sat there and watched her do it while he was teaching and training her and helping her, and I just sat
Yeah.
there and like soaked it all up with like a sponge. So
Dang.
it was great. But yeah,
And
and then we just kept going.
how long have you had to like sit down for one? Like the
I think
longest period of time?
that one was probably the longest because it was a training and we were really like zeroing in on these little fine details of fine line and all that was there more
Yeah.
in depth. she was a lot. She did like a little bit at a time, and then he would explain things and say, do this, do this. So it was slow. Like it wasn't like she was just going
Yeah.
because he was talking her through techniques as we went. And so I want to say it was like 3 hours.
Gotcha. And
So I think that's the longest I've ever sat.
was it all with a 3-round liner?
I believe so. Yep.
Gotcha.
And then it was the diluted method where some of the ink is diluted out in different variations.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what gives like it almost looks almost pencil drawn, but not. That ink has a little bit more gradient, like black to gray to, yeah.
Yeah. I have a few tattoos that are in the fine line style, with a three round liner. But majority of my tattoos are kind of bold, like pretty heavy black. And when I got all those ones first, and a lot of the areas like the ditch, like right there, killed.
Mm-hmm.
I have one on my sternum that hurt so unbelievably bad, and that was 6.5 hours of sitting and just no numbing cream. It was brutal. But then when I got the fine line tattoos, I was like, I could sit here for 10 hours. Like it doesn't hurt too bad.
Yep.
And I think that's for anyone who is worried about the pain, I would say try fine line, because it's like, I mean, it's really not that bad.
Well, yeah. So fine line is the only kind of tattoos I have.
Yeah, yeah.
So, because that's just the world I'm in. But yeah, I think that a lot of people will get their first. I think it's great to start with fine line,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of open the door and get you to get in the tattoo thing. Um, I feel like as fine line girls, at least us in Utah, we kind of had a little bit of a bad rap for a minute. We were getting a little bit of hate from traditional artists around the area. I
Yeah,
think they thought we were kind of coming in and taking their stuff, taking their
yeah,
people.
yeah,
But the more time that's gone on, the more I'm like, dude, we're getting people that would come in and never maybe get a tattoo before. We're opening that door for them, so then they start to get the itch for a tattoo. Like I'm their like starter, and then they can come to you. Like I'm
yeah,
like, and people that come to me and want like big dark shading, I'm like, I'm not your girl. You know who
yeah,
you should go see? Go see it. You know. I'm like, we can just scratch each other's back here. Like we're
yeah,
each filling a void.
yeah, for real.
So I don't know. It was pretty funny.
I wonder if I often think about this in any profession, but my whole world revolves around tattoos and tattoo artists from all over the world. And like people that I really respect as artists, and also people who I really respect as heavily tattooed individuals. Just because like I have some pretty big pieces, I understand the pain that you have to go through in order to get these. Do you think that there's like levels to either being an artist slash getting tattooed in the tattoo world? Um, I guess a good example would be, do you know who Mr. Cartoon is?
I've heard of him.
He's like a very, very famous tattoo artist and one of the most respected in the industry. He's heavily tattooed, and I think because of that, like people respect him in a way that he's earned his stripes. He's put in hundreds of hours onto his body, sitting through that pain. And in a way, like as much as fine line tattoos are amazing, and I think they're super good for the industry, I think to see someone who's heavily tattooed in fine line, in my head at least, and this could be just super biased, but I don't think that they have earned their stripes as far as like the pain threshold. Like it does hurt, but it's nothing compared to like the
Oh,
blackout arms or
oh, I'm
anything.
sure.
Yeah. So I think like in at least my eyes, a blacked out arm or, you know, 4 blacked out limbs, both legs, both arms. Those are, to me, I respect those guys the most, because I
Oh, for sure.
know for a fact that that was just absolute hell to get that done.
Yes. No, I totally agree. I see people, I almost feel like I don't know, I see like the traditional tattoos and I see like all the black and I just am like, ugh, oh, like it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I always make jokes with my clients who come in and get like their first tattoo, and whether it's something that's really small or a little bit bigger, and they're like, "Oh, I don't get how people do these really big pieces." And I was like, "Yeah, like I feel like it opens people's minds, even if it's not even it's not even close to what a traditional tattoo would feel like, or one that's
Mhm.
fully super shaded or blacked out." I do like that it just kind of lets them have a little bit of the experience so they can understand it, and maybe like look at someone that they wouldn't have understood before, but respect and be like, mine hurt like this, and that one has got a, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
gives them a little bit of, you know, an experience that not even close to being there, but maybe opens their eyes a little bit.
Yeah. Are you doing any? Do you have any flash available that people can pick from?
Yeah, so I usually do a flash sheet with every season.
Gotcha.
I'll just do some designs that have caught my eye or versions of things that I'm like, oh, that's so cute. So for the summer, I'll just like throw a flash sheet out. It's usually in with my booking highlight on my Instagram. And then I'll put it in my stories every so often when I first do it. It's always up for grabs. Sometimes it will just catch people's attention where it was like, didn't think I needed one, but now I see that and now I need that. So,
Yeah.
it's good more for inspiration. I have people that will want exact designs off of there, and then I'll have some that will be like, I like that, but I want to change it a little.
Mhm.
Um, so it kind of, I feel like it does a little bit of both.
And have you ever noticed in your tattooing career, or even just in your career as an artist, whatever, not even just tattoos, do you ever feel either like creative block or burnout?
Yeah. I feel like when anything, I think when I'm pushing or doing too much in one area of my life, it just burns me out. I just lose the motivation. And then I'm more going through the motions out of obligation instead of because it's something I actually like want to do or makes me feel good to do.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's why I continue to only work like 2 to 3 days a week
Hmm.
because I feel like if I do more than that, it becomes so much more of a job and I'm doing it so much more out of obligation instead of being excited to go there and being excited to draw and being excited to be creative. Um, I'm lucky that I get to rule that much and be able to have my husband who works so that I can be like, I'm only going to work 2 days this week, or,
Yeah.
you know, I've got a vacation coming up, so I'm going to take off an extra couple days. Um, I'm lucky that way,
Yeah.
but definitely being aware of the balance. And again, I think it goes back to having clients that are really cool and me spreading it out too. I try to stay like a good week ahead on all my designs so that I'm not feeling that pressure to really force design or force through creativity. Like to like sit down when I'm in that focus space and try and stay on top of things and really create the designs when I'm in that headspace instead of like the night before, gotta hurry and get this done and doing it out of urgency instead of being present in what I'm actually creating.
Yeah. And like you said, you try and be a week in advance for your designs. Do you ever have clients that come in the day of and they're like, actually, I want to switch this a little bit?
Yeah, usually I think it's just my perfectionist brain, but I really like to have things zeroed in and done by
Yeah.
the night before. I am always okay with if they're going between two different placements. We always finalize the size. We have an overall size wise of what we're thinking. But I'm okay finalizing that when they come. But the actual design itself, I like to pretty much have that done by the night before.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Little things that we want to change, like if like, oh, I actually decided I don't like this leaf coming out right there and that I want it to like curve a little bit. Little details we can swap around. But if someone wants a whole rework, I'm like, nope, not.
Yeah.
I'll just say no. Especially if it's something bigger that like it's gonna be a whole thing. I know that I just don't thrive in that type of thing. I'm so much more of a planned out type of person. And so I have said like, I think we need to take more time for this design. So we're going to pause. Let's take some pics. Let's chat for a minute. We use it as like a consultation chat back and forth. And I will set up a new appointment and then I'll send them off. Like I won't do anything. It doesn't happen super often, but it does happen. And that's it's for them and for me, because I'm like, I don't want us to try and make this work. I want it to work and come together the way that it's supposed to, instead of me trying to force it.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. We got about 10 minutes left. So I wanted to ask a little bit about now having a 3-year career. You started in 2020, correct? Mm-hmm. So after being in the tattoo industry for 3 years, 2 questions. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned? They could be lessons just related to life. And the second question, what advice would you give to the next generation of tattoo artists who are going to be starting soon?
I think the biggest thing I would probably say, especially starting out, it is such a comparison game and such a mental game. You like beat yourself, and it never stops.
Yeah.
I feel like you said before, there's so many fine line artists here in Utah. I had to go through probably like 8 months after I'd been going. I had to go unfollow a bunch of them because I was in my own head. I was beating myself up, especially artistically. Like the people that are you're gonna speak to and your work's gonna speak to are gonna find you and it's gonna work out. Just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly.
It's just can be so hard. I feel like sometimes with creation and all that stuff that it does feel so personal sometimes. And you're just like, why can't I be better? That person's better. It can really be defeating. It can just kind of kick your ass some days. And it's like, listen to yourself, give yourself grace, keep going, keep pushing, push yourself outside of your comfort zone every so often because it's good for you, even if it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the ones where I actually like push myself outside a little bit and was a little bit like, I was the most proud of. And it just was so exciting and so fun and such an experience that like was so good for my confidence and so good for that artistic scariness. To be able to be like, that's right. I thought I couldn't do it, but it looks amazing. Like I was like, just to be proud of yourself, pat yourself on the back, sometimes that is more validating than any words or anything else. Is just being able to prove yourself right. Sorry, my dog is whining.
No, it's okay.
Anyway, I don't know. That would probably be my biggest thing. Is just everyone has to start somewhere. Nobody starts just kicking ass right out the gate. Yeah. We all have to learn. We all have to go through things. But yeah, you gotta be nice to yourself.
Yeah, that's the hardest. I mean, I feel that just with my business with Lonely Cowboy. I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, but I started Lonely Cowboy in December of 2021 and really tried to push it in April 2022 until now. And I went through like a massive period of just, I hated doing the work for it. And it was just burnout, and then the imposter syndrome, like, you don't deserve this, like, you're not going to be able to do this, this, and that, whatever. And it gets exhausting. And you second guess yourself often. I'm sure, with me trying to be a tattoo artist soon, I'm trying to mentally prepare myself to not beat myself up because I know it's coming.
Well, and I think that most of it is just being like, it's inevitable.
Yeah, yeah,
You're gonna. Like, there's no artist out there that doesn't look at something and not be happy with it.
yeah.
But I think it's being like, this is a progression. This is how the creativity and the creation and anything that's artistic, that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
There's always going to be, well, and anything, even if it's not artistic, there's always people out there that are going to do better than us
Yeah.
in life, in any job. There's someone that's kicking ass, and there's someone that is just seems like it's just easy. Like they don't even have to do anything, and it's just everything's just great and wonderful. It's not true.
Yeah.
It's not. Because there's some, even though it may look great, there's some shit going on somewhere. Like no one has all of their stuff together. And if it seems like they do or they've worked really hard to get there. And so it's just like, you're always going to be, there is a comparison game. Just be nice to yourself and keep doing the work, keep practicing, keep being open to the fact that you are going to make mistakes. Because that's just why we're here.
Yeah.
Make mistakes and learn.
Yeah. When you first started tattooing, how long until, like, I'm assuming you started on practice skin?
Yeah.
How long until you did your first tattoo on someone other than yourself?
So the Utah, there was this burst of trainings that were just gave you your basic information. So I already had my blood pathogens. I already had all the basics I needed to because I was doing brows.
Yeah.
And so it was a training that we came in for 3 days and they taught us the basic information, and we were on practice skins. We were on pig skin. We had the option to tattoo on each other. And then I had two volunteer, like two friends of mine that came in and volunteered for me to tattoo on them first thing at the gate.
Dang.
So I did that in 3 days.
Holy smokes.
It was probably the most stressed I have ever been, and stressing and trying to do freaking straight lines is like. Yeah. And then my friend thought like doing the Deathly Hallows was going to be easy, but the circle, this freaking circle.
Jeez.
So that was I did like script up on the top of right here, on the top of the shoulder. And then I did the Deathly Hallows. Those were my first two tattoos I ever did on anybody, like on an actual living human.
Yeah.
And she still loves them to this day. And I look at them and I'm like,
dang. So right out the gate, it was 3 days. And then after those 3 days and doing those two on your friends, were you just right into it, booking clients?
Well, so I was already set up in my salon. I had to do a couple things to get myself set up for that in the salon. But a lot of that is the same because it is blood cutting into the skin. A lot of it is body art, brows, and so it's a lot of it is similar. But yeah, it opened up to, I just needed practice. Like I just wanted to start getting my correct depth. I just wanted to start doing work and then having it come back so I could see it and make changes and get, but I was all by myself. I wasn't around anybody. I didn't apprentice. It just like, I took what I learned and then I had to apply it. I had practice skins at home that I would kind of practice a little bit with. But I offered tiny tats, like minimal things for $50 a tat.
Yeah.
And I put those out there and I did that for a while. Just so that I could, and I was like, you guys are getting a $50 tat. Don't know it's gonna be super good, but and I had tons of people that I already had my brows, I already had that like as my substantial base. And so I think people already trusted that like as a perfectionist, I'm detail oriented, that like she won't mess it up that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I started, and then just gradually, like I said, like 6 to 8 months later, I did the advanced training, which really helped me zero in I upgraded my machine. Um, and then things just started getting better. My work started coming back looking better and better and better. And then it just, you know, as time
Dang.
went on, better and better. And people, it just word of mouth, people would see someone and then they'd be like, I know so and so, this is what I want. I'd be like, holy shit, this is going. Here we go.
Dang, that's amazing.
So, yeah.
Well, we can wrap it up here shortly. One last question. If you could tattoo anybody in the world, who would it be, and what kind of design would you want to do?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know if I've even thought about it.
Right?
Oh gosh, what was I thinking of the other day? I I think I automatically default to women.
Mm-hmm.
And women comedians. I don't know why, but like I just think that they're hilarious and I think we'd have fun hanging out. I think it would be so amazing to do like Jennifer Lawrence is hilarious.
Yeah, she is
I would
pretty
love
funny.
if she got something funny or anything. It wouldn't even have to be anything super big. Just simple. I don't know. A script on her in a cool place. I won't even be picky.
Yeah.
Like I would just be like, okay, check, done.
Dang.
Yeah, that's probably the florals. That's what I grew up being artistically drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
Florals, landscapes, mountains, earthy, all that stuff. And then script. Script is my favorite. In third grade, I wanted to be a third grade teacher so that I could teach cursive.
Dang,
So,
that's
like,
wild.
and then they took it away for a little bit, and I was like, no, man. And I've never realized that like tattooing brought all of that together. And every time I get to do script and I'm like loopy, like clean writing, I'm just like, oh.
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
hey, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it a ton. Is there any?
Thanks for asking.
Of course. Where can people find you on your socials / how do they book with you?
So I'm really simple. I'm just on Instagram. My my oldest daughter has told me to get a TikTok for years. I'm 40. Okay, I'm a mom, so I'm just like, there's something about that. I don't know if I fully feel like I jive there.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. So I'm just on Instagram. You can find me at Joyline Studio. You can DM me there and we can go from there. If you don't have an Instagram, you can DM me or get someone to DM me. I can give them my other information, my cell number. I will talk usually via text as well. But a majority of all of my stuff where you can see everything and get in touch with me and see what I do is all on my Instagram.
Amazing. Well, once again, thank you so much. And if I'm ever in Utah, I'll make sure to let you know and hopefully get a tat.
Awesome. I love that.
Alrighty. I will catch you next time.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Peace.
See ya.